The red mailbox on Lexington Avenue had been there for as long as I could remember, its paint chipped and faded, a relic from a New York that no longer existed. Christmas Eve had turned the city into a snow globe, white flakes drifting through amber streetlight, muffling the usual chaos into something almost magical. I stood before that mailbox with a letter clutched in my frozen fingers, feeling ridiculous and desperate in equal measure. 29 years old, and I was writing to Santa Claus. But desperation makes fools of us all, and I was so far past desperate I'd circled back to delirious. The envelope crinkled as I pressed it to my chest, the paper cheap, because cheap was all I could afford now. Inside, my handwriting, still neat despite everything, spelled out an impossible wish. Dear Santa, I know I'm too old for this. I know you're not real, but I don't know where else to turn. I need help. My sister is sick, and I can't save her alone. If you're listening, if there's any magic left in this world, please, I'm begging you, Natalia. The letter was pathetic, a grown woman's prayer tossed into the void. But when you've exhausted every other option, when the hospital bills tower higher than you can climb, when your sister's pale face haunts your dreams, when loan sharks start leaving messages that make your hands shake, you find yourself doing pathetic things. I opened the mailbox slot. The metal was so cold it burned my fingertips. For a moment, I held the letter suspended between keeping it and letting it go, between clinging to denial and admitting I had nothing left. Then I released it. The letter disappeared into the darkness of the mailbox with a soft whisper, and I felt something inside me break, not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet crack, like ice forming over still water. That's not how you get what you want in this city. The voice came from behind me, low and accented. Italian, I thought, or maybe Spanish. I spun around, heart hammering, and found myself staring at a man who looked like he'd stepped out of a film noir. Long black coat dusted with snow, dark hair swept back from a face that was all sharp angles and shadows, and eyes that seemed to see straight through my threadbare coat to the desperation beneath. He was beautiful in a dangerous way, the beauty that came with warning labels. I'm sorry, I managed to take an instinctive step back, the mailbox. He nodded toward it. I noticed he held a black umbrella, though he wasn't using it to shield himself from the snow. It's not real. The Santa letters don't go to the North Pole. They go to a sorting facility in Midtown where volunteers read them. And sometimes, if they're lucky, a charity. I know that, I said, lifting my chin even as embarrassment heated my frozen cheeks. I'm not a child. No. His gaze traveled over me, assessing in a way that made me acutely aware of my worn boots, my coat with the broken zipper, the holes in my gloves. You're not, which makes me wonder what kind of desperation drives a grown woman to mail a letter to Santa on Christmas Eve. That's none of your business. Perhaps not. He stepped closer, and I caught the scent of expensive cologne, cedar, and something darker, more complex. But I'm making it my business. What did you ask for? Why would I tell you? Because I might be able to help. The corner of his mouth lifted in something that wasn't quite a smile. And because you look like you need help badly enough to risk trusting a stranger. He wasn't wrong. I did need help, but everything about this man screamed danger. From his tailored coat to the way he moved with predatory grace, to the black car idling at the curb behind him, windows tinted dark enough to hide anything. I should go, I said, moving to step around him. His hand shot out, catching my wrist, not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to stop me. His skin was warm despite the cold, and I felt the touch all the way to my bones. Wait, his voice gentled. And when I met his eyes, I saw something unexpected there, genuine concern beneath the dangerous exterior. At least let me give you a ride. It's Christmas Eve, it's snowing, and you're shivering. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're freezing, frightened, and desperate enough to prey to a myth. His thumb brushed across my wrist, and I realized he could feel my racing pulse. My name is Killian Moreno. Let me help you. The name meant nothing to me, but the way he said it, with a quiet authority that expected recognition, suggested it should. I looked at him again. Really looked, and saw the expensive watch, the custom-tailored suit beneath the coat, the silver ring on his right hand that caught the streetlight. Money, power, danger. Everything I should run from. But Rosa's face floated before me, pale against white hospital sheets, tubes running into her arms, monitors beeping their steady rhythm. My baby sister, 23, was fighting for her life while I fought to keep us both afloat. The medical bills, the experimental treatment that the insurance wouldn't cover, the loan shark's latest message, payment due by New Year's, or we'll find other ways to collect. What kind of help? I heard myself ask. Killian's smile deepened, but it didn't reach his eyes. The kind that solves problems. But first, tell me what you wrote in that letter. I should have lied, should have made something up, protected myself from this stranger's scrutiny. Instead, I found myself telling the truth. My sister has leukemia. She needs a bone marrow transplant and experimental treatment that costs more than I'll make in 5 years. I've tried everything. Fundraising, loans, selling everything I own. I'm out of options. The words tumbled out faster now, desperate and raw. So yes, I wrote a letter to Santa because what else was I supposed to do? Pray? God doesn't answer prayers from people like me. People like you? People who make minimum wage serving coffee to Manhattan's elite while their sister dies because we can't afford to save her. I yanked my wrist from his grip, anger flaring hot enough to burn through my fear. So thank you for the concern and the ride offer, but I don't need your pity. Merry Christmas. I turned to walk away, boots crunching in fresh snow, but his voice stopped me again. I'll pay for it, all of it. The transplant, the treatment, whatever she needs. I froze, certain I'd misheard him over the wind and traffic. What? Your sister's medical expenses. I'll cover them. He said it casually, as if he were offering to pay for coffee rather than hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical treatment. In exchange, I need something from you. There it was. The catch. The hook beneath the bait. I turned slowly to face him. What do you need? Come to my car. It's warmer. And this conversation requires privacy. He gestured to the idling vehicle. I promise you're safe. You have my word. The word of a stranger offering me a fortune in exchange for some unnamed favor? I laughed, but it came out brittle. Forgive me if I'm skeptical. Smart. He tilted his head, studying me with those dark, penetrating eyes. But answer me this, Natalia. Yes, I saw the name on your letter. What do you have to lose? If I'm lying, you're no worse off than you are right now. If I'm telling the truth, your sister lives. How do I know you can actually pay for her treatment? That this isn't some cruel joke? Instead of answering, Killian pulled out his phone, tapped the screen a few times, and held it out to me. I saw a banking app, and my breath caught at the number displayed there. Millions, casual millions, sitting in what appeared to be a checking account. I can pay for it, he said quietly. The question is whether you're brave enough to hear my price. Behind him, the car door opened, and a man emerged. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a suit that matched Killian's for quality. He stood silently, hands clasped in front of him, clearly waiting for orders. 5 minutes, Killian said. Give me 5 minutes in the car to explain what I need. If you don't like my terms, you walk away and we never speak again. But if you walk away, you go back to being alone in this fight. Your choice, Natalia, but choose quickly. Your sister doesn't have the luxury of time. He was right about that. The doctors had given Rosa 3 months without treatment. We were already 2 months in. I looked at the car, at Killian, at the mailbox that had swallowed my desperate prayer. Then I thought of Rosa's smile, the way she'd always believed I could save the world, the promise I'd made to our parents before they died that I'd take care of her. 5 minutes, I agreed. Killian's smile was pure satisfaction. After you. The car's interior was warm and smelled of leather and luxury. I slid across the seat, and Killian settled beside me, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from his body. The door closed with a heavy thunk, sealing us into a private world of tinted windows and soft ambient lighting. Tell me what you want, I said, proud that my voice didn't shake. I need a wife. Of all the things I'd expected him to say, that wasn't on the list. I stared at him, certain I'd misunderstood. You need a what? A wife, for 6 months. He unbuttoned his coat, revealing the impeccable suit beneath. My family business has certain traditional expectations. To inherit full control, I must be married. I've avoided this obligation for years, but circumstances have changed. I need to be married by the new year, and I need someone who won't complicate my life with expectations of love or permanence. This is insane. This is business. His tone was matter of fact, as if arranging a marriage of convenience was as normal as negotiating a contract, which to someone like him, it might be. You need money. I need a temporary wife. We both get what we want. Marriage it's a commitment, a partnership. It's a legal arrangement that can be dissolved. He cut through my protest with surgical precision. I'm not asking you to love me, Natalia. I'm asking you to play a role for 6 months. We'll marry on paper. You'll attend necessary family functions. And when the 6 months are up, we'll divorce quietly. You'll walk away with enough money to pay for your sister's treatment and set yourself up comfortably for life. Why me? You're clearly wealthy. You must know dozens of women who would jump at this offer. I know women who would see this as an opportunity to dig their claws in deeper, who would fight the divorce, demand more money, make themselves a permanent problem. His gaze held mine, intense and unwavering. But you wrote a letter to Santa because you're desperate to save your sister. That tells me you're motivated by love, not greed. That makes you perfect. You don't know anything about me. Loneliness is safe. He met my eyes. Love is dangerous. I learned that lesson a long time ago. There was a story there, pain buried beneath that controlled exterior, but this wasn't the time to excavate it. Instead, I clutched the card and slid toward the open door. I'll call your attorney, I said. I know you will. He smiled, and this time it reached his eyes, making him look almost human. Merry Christmas, Natalia. I think we're going to save each other. I stepped out into the snow, the cold hitting me like a slap after the car's warmth. The door closed, and the vehicle pulled away, disappearing into the Christmas Eve traffic, leaving me standing on the sidewalk with a business card and a life-altering decision. When I finally made it back to my studio apartment, calling it an apartment was generous. It was more like a closet with delusions of grandeur. I found Rosa's latest text waiting for me. "Merry Christmas, Nat. I know you're working late. Don't worry about me. I'm okay. Love you." She wasn't okay. She was dying, but that was Rosa. Always trying to make things easier for me, even when she was the one suffering. I looked at Killian Moreno's attorney's card, then at my sister's text, then at the stack of bills on my desk that I'd been avoiding. The loan shark's latest message glowed on my phone screen. Final warning. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and marrying a Mafia boss in exchange for my sister's life. That was about as desperate as it got. I called the attorney at 9 a.m. sharp on Christmas morning. He answered on the first ring, as if he'd been expecting me, and his voice held none of the holiday cheer one might expect on 25th of December. "Miss Natalia, Mr. Moreno said you'd be calling. Are you available to meet this afternoon, on Christmas?" Mr. Moreno's timeline is aggressive. If we're to have you married by New Year's, we need to move quickly. Papers rustled in the background. "I can meet you at 2 p.m. The address is on the card." 4 hours later, I found myself in an office that screamed old money and older power. The attorney, Harrison Webb, according to the brass nameplate on his mahogany desk, was 60-something with silver hair and the kind of face that had seen everything and been surprised by nothing. "Let's be clear about what we're discussing," he said, sliding a leather portfolio across the desk. "This is a contract for a marriage of convenience with a defined 6-month term. You'll be expected to live with Mr. Moreno, attend family and business functions as his wife, and maintain the public appearance of a genuine relationship. But it's not a real marriage." I needed to hear him say it. "It's legally binding," he said, "which makes it real in the eyes of the law. What happens behind closed doors is between you and Mr. Moreno." He flipped open the portfolio. "In exchange for fulfilling these obligations, you'll receive immediate payment of all outstanding medical expenses. For your sister, Rosa Volkov. Additionally, you'll receive a monthly stipend of $50,000 for personal expenses. And upon successful completion of the 6-month term, a final payment of $5 million. The numbers made my head spin. That's too much. "Mr. Moreno is a wealthy man," Webb replied evenly. "He values discretion and loyalty. This amount ensures both." His expression didn't change. "There are additional clauses regarding confidentiality, behavior expectations, and termination conditions. I suggest you read carefully." I spent the next hour drowning in legal language that made my eyes cross. But the message underneath it all was simple. I would marry Killian Moreno, play the role of devoted wife for 6 months, and in return, Rosa would live, and I would never have to worry about money again. The catch, because there was always a catch, was buried in the fine print. If I broke the contract early, if I revealed the arrangement's true nature, or if I caused reputational damage to Killian Moreno, I would owe him $10 million and receive nothing. A golden cage with concrete bars. "I need to think about it," I said, closing the portfolio. "Of course," Webb replied smoothly, "but Miss Volkov, I should mention that Mr. Moreno has already contacted Mount Sinai Hospital regarding your sister's case. They're prepared to begin treatment immediately upon your acceptance of these terms." My breath caught. What? "Mr. Moreno is nothing if not efficient," Webb said. "The moment you sign, Rosa will have access to the best oncology team in New York. Every moment you delay is a moment she continues to suffer." He leaned forward just slightly. "I'm not telling you what to decide, but I am telling you what's at stake." I thought of Rosa's pale face, of the loan shark's threats, of the letter I'd dropped in the mailbox during a moment of desperate hope. And I thought of Killian Moreno, his dark eyes, his dangerous smile, his promise that I would be under his protection. "Where do I sign?" I asked. Webb's expression remained professional, but something shifted in his eyes. Respect, perhaps, or pity. Here, and here. Initial each page. Signature on the last." My hand shook as I signed away 6 months of my life. But with every stroke of the pen, the weight on my chest, Rosa would live. That was all that mattered. "Congratulations," Webb said quietly as I finished the final signature. "You're now engaged to Killian Moreno. The wedding will take place in 3 days at the courthouse. Mr. Moreno will collect you tomorrow to begin the transition to your new life. Do you have any questions?" 1,000 questions filled my mind, but only one made it past my lips. "Why does he really need a wife?" I asked. "What's the real reason?" Webb studied me for a long moment, then seemed to make a decision. "Mr. Moreno's father was a complicated man," he said carefully. "He believed in old-world traditions. His will stipulates that Killian cannot take full control of the family business until he's married and demonstrates stability and commitment." He paused. "It's antiquated," he continued, "but it's legally binding. There's also the matter of rival families," he added. Those who see his unmarried status as a weakness, a sign he can't honor long-term commitments. In our world, Miss Volkov, perception is power. Our world? I asked. You're part of it too? Webb allowed himself the faintest smile. I'm part of many worlds, he said. That's what makes me valuable. He stood, signaling the meeting was over. One more thing, he added. Killian may appear cold and calculating, but he honors his word. If he's promised to protect you and your sister, he will. That's worth remembering in the days ahead. I left the office in a daze, my signed contract tucked into my purse, like a ticking time bomb. On the subway ride home, I watched families celebrating Christmas, laughing, bundled in coats, arms full of gifts, and felt like an alien, observing a foreign species. Tomorrow my life would change forever. Tomorrow, I would become someone else entirely. Killian Moreno's car arrived at 10 a.m. sharp, the same black vehicle. The same driver. But this time, when I slid into the back seat, Killian was already there, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Good morning, fiancé, he said. The word sounded strange on his lips. Intimate. Good morning, I replied. Temporary husband. I settled into the seat, my small suitcase at my feet. Everything I owned fit into one bag. That should have felt depressing. Instead, it felt freeing. Where are we going? I asked. Home, he said. You're home for the next 6 months. He gestured to the driver, and we merged into traffic. I've had my staff prepare a room for you, he continued. If there's anything you need, tell Maria she runs the household. She's been instructed to accommodate your requests. Within reason. Within reason? Don't ask for weapons, he said dryly. And don't try to access areas of the house that are off limits. Other than that, you'll find I'm a surprisingly accommodating host. A slight smile. I do have one request. Before we arrive. What is it? Tell me about Rosa, he said. If I'm going to be your husband, even temporarily, I should understand what drives you. The question caught me off guard. I'd expected distance, professional detachment. Instead, he sounded genuinely curious. So I told him about our parents dying. When Rosa was 15 and I was 21. About raising her through high school, while working 3 jobs. About her dream of becoming a teacher. Her bright laugh. Her relentless optimism. And about the day she collapsed. About the diagnosis that shattered our world. Killian listened without interrupting, his dark eyes focused on my face with an intensity that made me hyper-aware of every word, every emotion bleeding through my carefully constructed walls. She sounds remarkable, he said when I finished. She is. She's everything good in this world. I swallowed hard. That's why I'm doing this. Why I'd do anything. I understand that loyalty, that willingness to sacrifice for those we love. He looked out the window, his profile sharp against the gray sky. My younger brother, Matteo, died when I was 25. He was 23, the same age as Rosa. He needed help I couldn't give him. Protection I failed to provide. I've regretted that failure every day since. The confession hung between us, raw and unexpected. I'm sorry, I said quietly. Don't be. Learn from it. He turned back to me. We're both fighting to save the people we love, Natalia. We're not so different, you and I. Before I could respond, the car pulled through a gate I hadn't noticed and up a private drive. The house that appeared was nothing like I'd expected. Not a cold, modern penthouse, but a beautiful brownstone in the Upper East Side, all ivy and wrought iron and old New York elegance. This is yours? I breathed. Ours for now. Welcome home. The next 3 days passed in a whirlwind of preparation. Maria, a warm woman in her 50s who clearly ran Killian's household with an iron fist disguised as maternal concern, took me shopping for appropriate clothes. Not just any clothes, designer pieces that made my clearance rack wardrobe look like costumes. Mr. Moreno's wife must look the part, she explained as I stared at price tags that made my eyes water. Don't worry about cost. He wants you comfortable and confident. I met his attorney again to review final details. I was photographed for documents. I spent hours with a woman named Sophia, who coached me on Killian's family, their names, positions, alliances, and rivalries. The Moreno family is old and powerful, Sophia explained. Killian's father, Arturo, built the current empire, but it's Killian who's transforming it. He's more strategic, less violent, trying to legitimize as much as possible. Some in the family see this as weakness, others see it as evolution. Which side are you on? She smiled. I'm on Killian's side. That's the only side that matters. Through it all, I barely saw Killian himself. He was always working, always in meetings, always handling business I wasn't privy to. But at night, I'd find notes left in my room, small, thoughtful gestures that surprised me. Rosa's treatment begins tomorrow. I've arranged for you to visit her whenever you wish. The library on the 3rd floor is yours to use. I noticed you like to read. I know this is overwhelming. Take your time adjusting. We have 6 months. The courthouse wedding was scheduled for 30 December, witnessed only by Webb and Maria. I wore a simple cream dress that Maria had selected, and Killian wore a dark suit that made him look like he'd stepped out of a magazine spread. We stood before the judge, and I heard myself repeat vows I didn't mean, promising to love and honor a man I barely knew. When Killian slipped a platinum band onto my finger, simple, elegant, clearly expensive, I felt the weight of it like a shackle. "You may kiss the bride," the judge said. Killian's hands cupped my face gently, and for a moment, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Nervousness, maybe, or anticipation. Then he kissed me, and the world tilted on its axis. It wasn't a passionate kiss. It wasn't demanding or presumptuous. It was careful, almost tender, as if he was acutely aware that this was my first kiss as his wife, and wanted it to mean something, even if the marriage didn't. When he pulled back, his thumb brushed across my cheekbone. "Hello, wife," he murmured. "Hello, husband." I managed, my heart racing. We were married. For 6 months. For money. For reasons that had nothing to do with love. But standing there with Killian's hand still framing my face, I felt something shift inside me. The first crack in my protective walls. The first whisper of danger that had nothing to do with his criminal empire, and everything to do with how easily I could imagine this being real. That night, back at the brownstone, Killian found me in the library. I'd been hiding there since we returned from the courthouse, needing space to process what I'd done. "Avoiding me already?" he asked from the doorway. "Processing. There's a difference." He moved into the room with that predatory grace I was learning to recognize, settling into the armchair across from mine. "You did well today. I know it wasn't easy. Lying to a judge and signing legal documents binding me to a stranger? No, not easy. We're not strangers anymore. We're married." A pause. "Even if it's temporary." "Right. Temporary." I looked down at the ring on my finger, trying to ignore how right it looked there. "What happens now?" "Now we convince my family that this is real. There's a New Year's Eve party tomorrow night. All the major players will be there. It'll be your introduction to my world." He leaned forward, his expression serious. "I need you to understand something, Natalia. These people are dangerous. They'll smile at you while calculating how to use you. Trust no one except Maria and me. Not my cousins, not my business associates, no one. Not even your family? Especially not my family. Blood means loyalty until it doesn't. And with the stakes being control of the organization, everyone's loyalty is negotiable." He held my gaze. "Stay close to me tomorrow night. Don't wander off alone. Don't accept drinks from anyone else. And if someone asks you personal questions, deflect. Your past, your relationship with me, that's all private." Understood. The weight of what I'd agreed to settled more heavily on my shoulders. I'm going to mess this up. I'm going to say the wrong thing, or... "You won't." He moved to kneel in front of my chair, taking my hands in his. The gesture surprised me, as did the warmth in his eyes. "You wrote a letter to Santa because you needed help. Well, I'm not Santa, but I am offering you protection. Let me help you through this, Natalia. Trust me to keep you safe." "Why do you care whether I trust you? This is just business." "Because..." He stopped, something vulnerable crossing his face before his control slammed back into place. "Because you're my responsibility now, and I take care of what's mine." What's mine? The possessive phrase should have annoyed me. Instead, it sent a shiver of something warm through my chest. "Okay," I whispered. "I trust you." "Good." He stood, but didn't immediately release my hands. "One more thing. Tomorrow night, I'll need to touch you, hold your hand, put my arm around you, maybe kiss you. It's part of the performance. Are you comfortable with that?" The memory of our courthouse kiss flooded back, making my cheeks warm. "Yes, I can handle that. I'll try to make it feel natural, less like acting." His thumb brushed across my knuckles. "Some rest. Tomorrow will be exhausting." After he left, I sat in the library until dawn, watching the city wake up and wondering what I'd gotten myself into. I was married to a Mafia boss. I'd signed a contract selling 6 months of my life, and the most terrifying part? I was starting to like the man I'd married. The New Year's Eve party was held at a mansion in Westchester that made Killian's brownstone look modest. Cars lined the circular drive. Bentleys, Rolls-Royces, vehicles that cost more than most people's houses. I sat in the back of Killian's Mercedes, wearing a midnight blue gown Maria had selected, and tried not to hyperventilate. "Breathe," Killian said from beside me. He looked devastating in a black tuxedo, his hair perfectly styled, his dark eyes missing nothing. "You look beautiful. You're my wife. You belong here. I'm a barista from Queens who got married 3 days ago to a man I barely know. I don't belong anywhere near here. You're Natalia Moreno now. That name carries weight in this world. Use it." He took my hand, lacing our fingers together. "And you know me better than you think. You've seen me vulnerable. You've heard my confessions. That's more than most people in that house can say." The driver opened our door, and Killian emerged first, then turned to help me out. The moment my hand touched his, I felt his thumb stroke across my palm, a small, intimate gesture that steadied me. "Ready?" he murmured. "No, but let's do this anyway." He smiled, genuine and warm. "That's my girl, his girl." I shouldn't have liked hearing that, but I did. The party was exactly what I'd feared, a sea of wealth and power and scrutiny. Everywhere I turned, eyes assessed me, judged me, calculated my worth. Killian kept me close, his hand at the small of my back or holding mine, a constant reminder that I wasn't alone in this. "Killian!" A woman's voice, sharp and false sweet, cut through the crowd. "Is this the mystery wife we've heard about?" She was stunning, mid-30s, poured into a red dress that probably cost more than Rose's first year of treatment. Her smile was sharp enough to cut glass. "Valentina," Killian said, his voice cooling several degrees. "This is my wife, Natalia. Natalia, this is Valentina Russo. She's associated with a competing family." How romantic. A whirlwind courtship. Valentina's eyes stripped me bare. "Tell me, Natalia, how did you meet our dear Killian?" The tabloids have been speculating wildly. This was a test. I could feel it in the weight of Killian's hand on my back, in the sudden attention from nearby guests. "We met by chance," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Sometimes the best things in life happen when you're not looking for them." How poetic. "And your background? Your family?" "My past is my past. My future is with Killian." I looked up at my husband, letting genuine emotion wash over my face. "That's all that matters now." Killian's eyes warmed, and he pulled me closer, pressing a kiss to my temple. "If you'll excuse us, Valentina, I want to introduce my wife to my uncle." As we walked away, I felt his hand tighten on my waist. "Well done," he murmured. "Valentina is venomous. You handled her perfectly. She wanted to make me uncomfortable. She wanted to find weakness. You gave her none." He guided me toward an older man with silver hair and Killian's dark eyes. "Uncle Marco, I'd like you to meet my wife." The introductions continued. Cousins, associates, family members whose relationships I struggled to keep track of. Through it all, Killian stayed close, protecting me from the worst of the scrutiny while presenting us as a united front. Around 11, he excused us to a quieter room, a library similar to the one in his brownstone, but larger and more ostentatious. "How are you holding up?" he asked once we were alone. My face hurts from smiling. I collapsed onto a leather sofa, kicking off my heels. "How do you do this all the time?" "Practice, and the knowledge that showing weakness would destroy everything I've built." He loosened his bow tie, and the gesture made him seem more human, less untouchable. "You're doing remarkably well, Natalia. Better than I expected." "Is that a compliment?" "It's the truth. You have a strength most people lack. You don't let them see you sweat." "I'm sweating plenty. I'm just good at hiding it." He laughed. A real laugh, not the controlled version he showed the crowds. "Then we're well matched. I'm terrified most of the time. I hide it better than anyone knows." The admission surprised me. "You? Terrified?" "Every day. Of failure. Of showing weakness. Of someone discovering I'm not as coldly competent as I pretend to be." He sat beside me, close enough that our thighs touched. "That's the secret no one tells you about power. It's lonely and exhausting, and you can never let anyone see the cracks." "You're letting me see them." "Yes, I am." He turned to face me, his expression unguarded in a way I'd never seen. "Maybe because you're the only person who doesn't want anything from me except what we've already agreed upon. Or maybe because I'm tired of pretending all the time. With you, I can be honest." "Killian!" "I know this is just business. I know you're here for your sister, and I'm here for control of my family's empire. I know that when 6 months are up, you'll take your money and walk away." His hand came up, cupping my face as he had at the courthouse. "But for these months, can we be honest with each other? Can we be real? Even if nothing else about this is." I should have said no, should have maintained professional distance. But sitting there in that quiet library, seeing vulnerability in his dark eyes, I found myself nodding. "Yes, we can be real." "Good." His thumb brushed across my cheekbone, and the touch sent electricity through my entire body. "Because I need to tell you something. This, us, it's becoming complicated for me. You're becoming important in ways that weren't part of the plan." My breath caught. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I asked for a convenient wife and got you instead. And you're anything but convenient, Natalia. You're messy and brave and real. And I find myself wanting things I shouldn't want." "Like what?" Instead of answering, he leaned in and kissed, not like at the courthouse. Carefully, appropriately. This kiss was something else entirely. Hungry, desperate, real in a way that made my toes curl and my hands fist in his shirt. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. "Like that," he whispered against my lips. "I want that. I want you. Not as a convenience, but as something real. And I know that's not what you signed up for, so I'm telling you now. You're free to maintain distance, to keep this purely professional. I won't hold it against you." I should have taken the out, should have reminded him this was temporary, transactional. Instead, I heard myself say, "What if I don't want distance? What if I want this to be real too?" His eyes darkened with something fierce and possessive. "We have a problem. Because in 6 months you walk away. That's the contract. That's what's best for both of us." "Right. The contract." The word tasted bitter now. But until then, he kissed me again, slower this time but no less intense. Until then, we can be honest, we can be real, we can pretend this means something. It does mean something, I whispered. Even if it ends, especially if it ends. His forehead rested against mine. Everything meaningful ends, Natalia. The trick is enjoying it while it lasts. We stayed like that for a long moment, breathing each other's air, balanced on the knife's edge between what was real and what we were pretending. Then, at midnight, fireworks exploded outside, and we heard the countdown from the other room. "Happy New Year," Killian said. "Happy New Year, husband." He smiled and kissed me as the world celebrated a fresh start. Neither of us mentioned that our marriage had an expiration date or that we were falling for each other despite every logical reason not to. Some things were better left unsaid. The next 3 months were a strange kind of torture. By day, we played the perfect couple, attending events, handling family business, presenting a united front to Killian's world. By night, we retreated to the brownstone and dropped the pretense, talking until dawn about everything and nothing. He told me about his childhood, about a father who'd seen affection as weakness and taught love through absence, about his brother Matteo, who'd been gentle and artistic in a family that valued neither trait, about the guilt that haunted him for not protecting Matteo from the family business's darkness. I told him about my parents' accident, about the guilt of surviving when they didn't, about raising Rosa and wondering if I was doing it right, about the fear that had consumed watching her get sicker, feeling helpless to save her. "You're not helpless," he said one night as we sat in his library. "You're the strongest person I know. You faced down my entire family without flinching. You negotiated with me like you held all the cards. You're extraordinary, Natalia. I'm ordinary, just someone trying to protect the person she loves. There's nothing ordinary about love that fierce." His hand found mine in the darkness between our chairs. "I used to think love made you weak. My father taught me that. But watching you love Rosa, watching you sacrifice everything for her, it's not a weakness. It's the strongest thing I've ever seen." Rosa's treatment was working. Every week, I'd visit her at Mount Sinai and see more color in her cheeks, more light in her eyes. She'd asked about my whirlwind marriage, and I'd given her the story Killian and I had crafted, that we'd met and fallen hard and decided life was too short to wait. "He must be special," she said during one visit, "to make my cautious big sister throw caution to the wind." "He is," I admitted, and meant it. But as March approached, I became acutely aware that we were halfway through our contract. 3 months left. 3 months until I'd take my money and walk away from Killian's world, from the life I'd built in his orbit, from the man I'd fallen completely, irrationally in love with. Because that's what had happened. Despite the contract, despite the expiration date, despite every logical reason not to, I'd fallen in love with my temporary husband. I knew the exact moment I realized it. We were having breakfast in the Brownstones' kitchen. A rare, lazy Sunday morning, and Killian was reading the newspaper while I scrolled through my phone. He looked up, caught me staring, and smiled. "What?" "Nothing, just, this is nice. This feels normal." Normal is underrated. He reached across the table to take my hand. "I like normal with you." And in that moment, with sunlight streaming through the windows, and coffee cooling in my cup, and Killian's fingers laced with mine, I realized I loved him. Not the dangerous Mafia boss, or the wealthy husband who'd saved my sister. Just him, the man who left me notes, remembered I liked my coffee with too much cream, and held me when I cried about my parents. "Killian," I started, not knowing what I planned to say but needing to say something. His phone buzzed, shattering the moment. He glanced at it and his expression darkened. "I have to go. Business." He stood, already shifting back into the controlled, dangerous man the world saw. "I'll be back late. Don't wait up. Be careful." He paused at the door, looking back at me with something unreadable in his eyes. "Always am. And Natalia, whatever happens, remember you're under my protection. No one touches you, ever." The ominous words stayed with me all day. When he hadn't returned by midnight, I started to worry. By 2 a.m., worry had become fear. At 3, I was pacing the library, phone in hand, debating whether to call. Then I heard the front door open. I rushed to the foyer and found Killian leaning against the doorframe, his white shirt stained with blood. "Oh my God!" I ran to him, hands shaking as I tried to assess the damage. "What happened? Are you hurt?" "Not my blood." His voice was rough, exhausted. "There was an incident. A rival family tried to make a move. We handled it. You need to sit down. I need a shower and a drink." In that order, but he didn't move, just stood there looking at me with eyes that had seen too much. "You should go to bed. You don't need to see this side of me. I'm your wife. I see all sides of you." I slipped under his arm, taking his weight. "Come on. Let's get you cleaned up." He let me lead him upstairs to his bedroom, a room I'd never entered before. The space was masculine and understated, dominated by a massive bed and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. I guided him to sit on the edge of the bed while I started the shower. When I returned, he was struggling with his shirt buttons, his hands shaking. "Let me," I said quietly, brushing his hands aside. I unbuttoned his shirt carefully, revealing a body I'd only imagined before, muscled and scarred, evidence of a life lived dangerously. No fresh wounds, which was a relief. The blood really wasn't his. "You don't have to do this," he said. "I know, I want to." I helped him shrug out of the shirt. "Go shower. I'll find you clean clothes." He caught my wrist as I turned away. "Natalia, thank you for not running from this. From me. I'm not going anywhere." The words were a promise I wasn't sure I could keep, but right now they were true. After his shower, I found him on the bed in pajama pants, head in his hands. I sat beside him, close but not touching. "Want to talk about it?" I asked. "No, but I will. Because you deserve honesty." He looked at me with haunted eyes. "Valentina Russo, the woman from New Year's Eve, she tried to have you kidnapped. She thought she could use you to leverage control of my territory." Ice flooded my veins. "What?" "Her men were watching you, planning to grab you when you leave for your weekly visit with Rosa." His jaw tightened. "I found out and handled it. Valentina won't be a problem anymore." The implication was clear. Valentina was dead. "You killed her because of me." "I killed her because she threatened what's mine and violated rules even our world holds sacred. You don't target civilians. You don't go after family." He took my hand, his grip almost desperate. "And you are family, Natalia, contract or not. You're my wife. I protect what's mine." "Killian, I know what you're thinking, that you're in danger because of me, that this is more than you signed up for. And you're right, but I need you to understand something." He turned to face me fully. "I will burn this entire city down before I let anyone hurt you. That's not hyperbole. That's a promise. The fierce protectiveness in his voice should have scared me. Instead, it broke something open inside me. "I love you," I blurted out. "I know I shouldn't. I know this is supposed to be temporary, that I'm supposed to walk away in 3 months. And that we're supposed to pretend this doesn't mean anything. But I love you, Killian, and I don't know what to do about that." He stared at me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he laughed, a broken sound that was half sob. "You love me? Of course you do, because everything about this is a disaster." He cupped my face in both hands. "I'm in love with you too, Natalia. I have been since that first night when you stood in the snow and chose to trust me. I'm completely, irrevocably in love with you, and it's the most terrifying thing I've ever felt." "What do we do?" "I don't know. The contract says you leave in 3 months. That's what's best for you. To take your money, start fresh, build a life away from my darkness." "What if I don't want that? What if I want to stay?" "Then you're a fool." But he kissed me as he said it, desperate and claiming. "But so am I, so maybe we can be fools together." We fell back onto his bed, kissing with the urgency of people who'd been denying themselves too long. His hands tangled in my hair, and I clutched at his shoulders, needing him closer, needing this to be real. "Stay with me tonight," he murmured against my lips. "Not because the contract says you should, because I need you. I need you too." We lay there in the darkness, wrapped around each other, neither acknowledging that needing each other was the most dangerous thing we could do. The contract had 3 months left, and in those 3 months, everything would change. But for tonight, we had each other, and that had to be enough. The next morning, I woke in Killian's bed with his arm around my waist, and sunlight streaming through the windows. For a moment, I let myself pretend this was real, that we were a normal couple waking up together, no contracts or expiration dates or dangerous enemies. Then my phone buzzed with a message from Rosa. "Doc says I'm in remission. Can you believe it? Your magic husband saved my life." Tears pricked my eyes. She was going to be okay. After everything, after all the fear and desperation, Rosa would live. "Good news?" Killian's voice was rough with sleep. "The best news. Rosa's in remission." "That's wonderful." He pulled me closer, pressing a kiss to my shoulder. "See? The contract worked. You got what you needed." His words hung heavy in the air, because with Rosa in remission, the whole reason for our arrangement had been fulfilled. The remaining 3 months felt suddenly arbitrary. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now we finish what we started. 3 more months, then you take your money and walk away." His arm tightened around me. "That's what the contract says. And what do you want?" "I want you to be safe, to build a life that doesn't involve looking over your shoulder for my enemies, to have a chance at normal." He turned me in his arms to face him. "I want you to be happy, Natalia, even if that happiness doesn't include me. You make me happy. I also put you in danger. Valentina won't be the last. There will always be someone trying to use you against me." His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. "You deserve better than that. Stop telling me what I deserve. Let me decide." "Then decide. 3 months from now, when the contract ends, do you stay or go?" I wanted to say I'd stay, but looking into his dark eyes, seeing the fear and hope warring there, I realized the truth. "I don't know. Ask me again in 3 months." "Fair enough." He kissed my forehead. 3 more months. Let's make them count." Those 3 months were both blissful and agonizing. Killian and I stopped pretending our marriage was purely business. We fell into an easy intimacy, sharing his bed, cooking together in the kitchen, stealing moments of normalcy between the chaos of his world. But the danger never quite disappeared. There were more threats, more attempts to use me as leverage. Each time, Killian handled it with ruthless efficiency, making it clear that I was untouchable. But each time, I saw the fear in his eyes, the worry that he wouldn't be fast enough, that someone would hurt me because of my connection to him. "This is exhausting," I said one night after another close call. "Living like this, always on guard. I know, and I'm sorry. This is my world and I've dragged you into it. I chose to come. I chose you." I took his hand. "But Killian, we need to talk about what happens when the contract ends." "I know." He looked away, his jaw tight. "The money is ready. Webb has all the paperwork prepared. All you have to do is say the word, and you're free." "What if I don't want to be free? What if I want to stay?" "Then you'd be making a terrible mistake." He turned to me, his expression fierce. "Natalia, I love you, but love isn't enough. You've seen what my life is like. The danger, the violence, the constant threats. Is that really what you want? To spend your life looking over your shoulder? If it means being with you, yes. You say that now, but what about in a year? 5 years, when someone else tries to use you against me, and you realize this life isn't sustainable?" He cupped my face. "I won't let you sacrifice yourself for me. You and Rosa deserve normal lives. Safe lives. Lives that don't involve bodyguards and bulletproof cars." "You're pushing me away." "I'm protecting you. There's a difference." We didn't resolve it that night, or the next. The contract's end date loomed like a storm on the horizon, and neither of us wanted to face it. Then everything changed. It was 3 days before the contract expired. I was visiting Rosa at her new apartment, paid for by Killian, of course, in a safe building with good security. She looked healthy, vibrant, completely transformed from the pale girl in the hospital bed. "I can't thank him enough," she said. "Your husband saved my life." "He's not," I stopped, because technically, he was still my husband. "For 3 more days. He cares about you because I care about you. He loves you, you know. I can see it when he looks at you." Rosa smiled. "Are you going to stay with him after the contract ends?" I'd told her the truth weeks ago, about the arrangement, about how it started, about how it had evolved into something tangible. She'd been surprisingly understanding. "I don't know. He thinks I should leave, that I deserve better than his dangerous world. What do you think?" "I think I love him, and I think love is worth fighting for, even when it's complicated." "Then fight for it." She squeezed my hand. "You fought for me. Now fight for yourself." I left Rosa's apartment with new determination. I'd made my decision. I was staying with Killian, contract or not. I'd tell him tonight. Make him understand that I chose him. Danger and all. But when I got home, I found the brownstone dark and too quiet. No Maria in the kitchen. No staff anywhere. Just silence that felt wrong. "Killian?" I called out, my voice echoing. "He's not here." I spun around to find a man I didn't recognize standing in the doorway. Tall, armed, with dead eyes that made my blood run cold. "Who are you?" "Someone who's been waiting for an opportunity. Come quietly or this gets messy." Before I could scream, he moved. I felt a prick in my neck, and the world tilted sideways. As darkness claimed me, my last thought was of Killian's face, the way he'd looked at me that morning. Like he was memorizing me, like he'd known something like this was coming. Then nothing. I woke in a room I didn't recognize. Concrete walls, one small window, the smell of mildew and fear. My head pounded, and my wrists were bound with zip ties that bit into my skin. "She's awake." A different man this time. Younger, with a scar across his cheek. He leaned against the wall, watching me with casual interest. "Where am I?" My voice came out hoarse. "Somewhere your husband won't find you quickly, though he's probably already tearing the city apart looking." The man smiled. "That's the point. While he's distracted, my boss makes his move, takes over Moreno territory. By the time Killian finds you, it'll be too late. He'll kill you for this." "Maybe, but first he'll suffer. And that's worth the risk." Hours passed. They didn't hurt me, which was somehow worse. The waiting, the not knowing. I thought of Killian, wondering if he'd gotten my message earlier, and if he knew I was choosing to stay, if the last thing he'd heard from me was uncertainty. Then, just as darkness fell outside the small window, I heard it. Gunshots. Shouting. The sounds of violence are getting closer. My guard's radio crackled. "He's here! Moreno's—" The voice cut off mid-sentence. The scarred man swore, reaching for his weapon. But before he could raise it, the door exploded inward, and there was Killian, covered in blood that definitely wasn't his, gun in hand, eyes wild with something primal. He shot my guard without hesitation. No warning, no mercy. The man dropped, and Killian was moving, crossing the room in 3 strides. "Natalia," his hands shook as he cut through my zip ties. "Are you hurt? Did they touch you?" "I'm okay, scared, but okay." He pulled me into his arms so tightly I could barely breathe. "When I came home and found you gone, when I realized what they'd done," his voice broke, "I thought I'd lost you. I thought I'd failed you like I failed Mateo. I'm here. I'm safe." I held him just as tightly. "You found me. I'll always find you. No matter what." He pulled back to look at me, cupping my face. "And I need to tell you something. I was wrong about pushing you away, about telling you to leave. I don't want you to go, Natalia. I want you to stay. Forever. Danger and darkness and all of it. I want you by my side." The contract? Damn the contract. I'm not talking about 6 months or temporary arrangements. I'm talking about real marriage, real vows. Real forever. His eyes held mine. Marry me again. Properly this time. Choose me knowing exactly what you're getting into. Choose this life with your eyes wide open. Yes, I didn't need to think about it. Yes, I choose you. I choose this. I choose us. He kissed me there in that terrible room, with violence echoing around his men securing the building and us. It was desperate and claiming and real. So genuine. Let's go home, he murmured against my lips. Home. Not his house or my apartment. Home. Where we belonged together. 6 months after I'd dropped that letter in the Santa mailbox, I stood in the same spot on Lexington Avenue, but everything had changed. I wore real winter clothes now. Expensive and warm, a new ring on my finger, the second one Killian had given me, when we'd renewed our vows in a real ceremony with Rosa as my maid of honor. What are you doing here? Killian appeared beside me, his hand finding mine automatically. Remembering, that night I stood here, desperate and alone, writing to Santa because I had nowhere else to turn. I looked at the mailbox. Then at him. I asked for help. And you came. I'm not Santa. No, you're better. You're real, and flawed, and dangerous. And mine. I rose on my toes to kiss him. My husband. For real this time. For real? He agreed. Forever. Do you think anyone else will drop a letter in there tonight? Another desperate person hoping for a Christmas miracle? Probably. Desperation is a common condition in this city. He pulled me close. But their letter won't be intercepted by a mafia boss looking for a convenient wife. Lucky me then. Lucky us. He kissed my forehead. Come on. Rosa's waiting at home for Christmas Eve dinner, and you know how she gets when we're late. We walked away from that mailbox. Hands linked. Our breath forming clouds in the December air. Behind us, another person approached with an envelope clutched in frozen fingers. Another desperate soul hoping for magic. But my magic had already happened. I'd asked Santa for help, and instead got Killian Moreno. Complicated, dangerous, perfectly imperfect. He'd saved my sister, changed my life, and taught me that sometimes the most unexpected answers to our prayers are the ones we needed all along. My letter had been answered, not by Santa, but by a man who'd read my desperation and decided to do something about it. A man who'd offered me a deal that became something real. A man I'd fallen in love with despite every reason not to. Sometimes miracles wear expensive suits and carry dangerous secrets. Sometimes they come in the form of temporary contracts that become permanent commitments. Sometimes they find you at your lowest point and lift you up, not with magic, but with choice and sacrifice. And love that refuses to quit. I'd asked for help, and help had come in the most unexpected form possible, and I'd been brave enough to accept it.